The Book of Ruth is one of those scriptures that Bible scholars really struggle to classify because it's not about some big thing. It's not about some prophetic vision or some disaster that happened to a whole community, but it's about a family and what they face personally. And in the story of Ruth, the family has moved from Bethlehem to Moab because there was a famine in Bethlehem. And while in Moab, which is not where they're from, it's a foreign land that they've gone to survive. The father dies. His name is Elimelech, which means God is all. God is the ultimate. And when he dies, his wife, Naomi, is bereft. But then her sons also die. And she says, "Call me Mara," because she becomes so bitter. And she decides to go back to her birthplace. And she tells her daughter-in-laws, "You stay here because you can get husbands." But her one daughter-in-law, Ruth, says to her the most beautiful scripture. Maybe some of you have heard it sung at weddings. She says to her mother-in-law, "Wherever you go, I will go. Wherever you lodge, I will lodge. My people, your people," she says, "will be my people. And where you die, I will die. Your God will be my God. And I will be buried beside you," she says. And she says, "I pray for this, Lord, that this you will do for us and more." So she clings to her mother-in-law, and she represents this capacity that we all have to be secure enough in our own self that we're able to do what's best for someone else, to have the compassion to go beyond our own, what seems like our own best interest, to support someone less fortunate. Naomi is older. She probably would not be able to remarry. She has no support in Moab, and it would be very dangerous for her to go alone. And so Ruth goes with her. I think also that Ruth represents us being anchored in that peace we talked about earlier, or what the Buddhist monk Thich Nhat Hanh calls our true home. Here's what Thai says about our true home. "My true home isn't a place. It's not a culture. I have a home no one can take from me. I feel very comfortable in that home. There's no discrimination, no hatred, because I have the capacity to embrace everyone of every race, color, and creed. And I have this aspiration," he says, "to love and to help people, to help all people and all species," he says. So even though Ruth is considered to be a foreigner, an alien, and in the short book, she's referred 5 times as the Moabitess, the woman of Moab, the Moabite damsel, and the stranger, she has so much love and devotion that she penetrates those barriers and becomes one of the great heroines of Judaic culture, one of the most beloved characters in the Bible. Naomi represents the divine feminine and also Mara, when that divine feminine becomes disconnected from God and bitter and is grieving. It's a temporary state. Naomi feels abandoned, lost. Naomi wants to return to Bethlehem and she's in Moab, a paradoxical place. It has two sides to it. Moab, maybe Daniel can tell us a little bit more about this, actually has external conditions in the physical realm that are very harsh, and also the potential for strength and goodness inherent in facing harsh conditions. Moab, the word, actually means the seed of God, or the source of water itself, that which flows from the Creator. From the top of a mountain in Moab is where God showed Moses the promised land. So Moab, I think, is the place we go, metaphysically, to destroy all the obstacles that stand in our way. It's the place we go to dance with our shadow, to assault our intellect, to subdue our ego. And it's hard work. It requires courage, and we can't do it alone. So all these characters represent different aspects of our own selves. We're all of them. When Naomi and Ruth reach their destination, they meet Boaz, who represents a mature, disciplined, generous, discerning man, a spiritual man, the divine masculine. And they come together with him and become more than they could possibly be alone. Boaz is kind of like the Yoda of biblical times, He's enchanting, and he brings out the best in people. So with that said, I would like to offer this up now to Reb Daniel, my friend, to carry on and share his wisdom with us.
Well, I don't know Rabbi Daniel. My older brother is actually a rabbi, as I think you know, Judy. Yeah, he's Rabbi Jack.
I said Reb because I thought Reb was a term of like honoring, right?
It's very nice. It's very nice. It's very nice. And you know what? To get that title without having to go through, I think Jack went to 6 years of rabbinical school. I'll take it. Sweet. You can call me doctor too, and then I'm really in the. Then I might be able to get my kid through college. You know what? I think I'm gonna, before I say just a few words, I'm gonna sing a song. It's really interesting to hear your take on Moab, and it's just I spent 3 months in Moab back before I had wife, baby, dog, and mortgage, and I sort of disappeared. I was living in the rugged terrain of Los Angeles, of West Hollywood, the wilderness, different kind of wilderness, and lived there for 7 years making music and traveling a fair amount. And I had a little rent control apartment in which I wrote a lot of songs, and undoubtedly drove my neighbors absolutely insane without realizing it. And but after 7 years of doing that, I really wanted a break and some quiet. And I did go to my own personal Moab, which happened to be a town called Moab in Utah, which is, if you've never been, it's red rock country. If you can kind of picture the Grand Canyon, but less wide and spread out, or maybe picture Sedona. You have 1,000-foot high red rock cliffs and canyons and arches and riverbeds and stream beds, and no words can describe it, and no photos can convey how beautiful the place is, and how remote it is, and how dark the skies are, or at least were then. It's since, unfortunately, well, fortunately, but unfortunately, it's been discovered much more than it had been even. This is 15 years ago. It's wild for me to think about, but 2006, the first 3 months of 2006 is when I was there in the winter. I'd call it the dead of winter, but I've never actually quite been so alive. So I wrote 125 songs during the 3 months that I was there, including the song I sang for you last song, and including this next one I thought I'd share with you for a couple of minutes. I've seen my share of struggle when I thought that I knew best, when I've sailed through a storm instead of stopping to rest. But it always seems the hardest when I've made up my stubborn mind. Well, I'm changing my ways this time. Wanna be like water coming down a mountain into shadowy canyons, flowing from pool to stream. Wanna be like water, head uphill no more. I am bound for the sea. Have you ever seen an eagle head straight into the wind? He doesn't pick a fight, spreads his wings and just gives in. And in the end he always makes it home just fine. Yes, he knows that every storm subsides. Wanna be like water coming down a mountain into shadowy canyons, flowing from pool to stream. Wanna be like water, head uphill no more. I am bound for the sea. I'll let nature take its course. No more thinking that I know where this river's meant to go. I have railed against the stars for the cards that I've been dealt, for the lottery I've never won, for the heartache that I've felt. But it always seems when I let go of expectation and regret, life has plenty of surprises for me yet. I want to be like water coming down a mountain into shadowy canyons, flowing from pool to stream. Want to be like water, head uphill no more. I am bound for the sea. Want to be like water coming down a mountain into shadowy canyons, flowing from pool to stream. Want to be like water, head uphill no more. I am bound for the sea. As the recovering child of lawyers, both parents lawyers, I am a cerebral guy by nature. I'm cynical and cerebral by upbringing, for sure. You know, I wasn't raised to write songs. I wasn't raised to be a musician. I certainly wasn't raised to write songs about being like water or going with any kinds of flow. We didn't go with flow in the Nahmod house. We took care of business and made to-do lists and, planned out far in advance. And actually, I wouldn't for a second put any of that down in the sense that it raised that philosophy that my parents practiced in their own lives and as parents. Got all three boys through college, and all three boys more or less gainfully employed. Well, 2 out of 3 ain't bad, and and got them through long fruitful careers that they're now retired from. And I've been making music for 22 or 23 years now, full time, and I'm quite sure that the upbringing, the training to balance a checkbook, and the awareness of numbers and academic subjects, and that side has kept me from being a starving artist ever, if that makes sense. I mean, the entrepreneur in me was raised by the lawyers in them, and so I'm grateful for it. However, the only thing I would say to you all, which is not, I'm not going to say anything new or radical, but I'll just reflect it back in case it's been rattling around in your head, you've been thinking about it maybe, is what do we do right now, for example, right now, with the utter lack of certainty and the utter lack of control? And that is when a philosophy like the water song really proves handy. I would have thought that a to-do list or a 10-year plan could guide my way, but I've been paying attention to the facts on the ground in my own life and in the lives of people around me and in the world. And I was an economics major, of course, in college, wouldn't you think I would be? And I remember an economics professor telling the class that if anybody, that whenever you hear a financial reporter on the news say the stock market rose 120 points today on optimism about the housing market, or sank 300 points on, on a storm brewing in the Pacific, whatever it is. The first part is true. Points rise, points fall. The second half of that sentence, he said, and this was an esteemed economist, the second half is never true. They don't know why it rises or falls. Um, the economy is a living thing. It is an organism with millions or billions of cells operating in the body. We are the cells, whole nations, and so on. There's no one person managing it, and there's no one predicting it, and there's no one controlling it, and there's no one person understanding it. And the same is true for the weather. We don't even need to say, but the same is also true for our health. The same is true for a pandemic. The same is true for ask any movie producer whether they're sure their next film is going to be a hit. And the answer is, if they're honest, yeah, no idea. You do your best work, put it out, and you find out, right? And that seems to be the way life is, whether we want it to be or not. Pandemic comes. I remember my wife and I were unemployed in an instant, right? My schedule was full for the rest of the year, and instead it was empty. And I remember my wife lifting up her head from the pillow uh, one night in the middle of March last year, looking at me and saying, "Danny, what are we going to do?" you know? And I said, "I have no idea, but we'll figure it out. One day at a time is all we ever actually have. Even if we have the illusion in our minds, the illusion of control that tells us that a week from now, a month from now, a year from now, we can start planning now and it's just going to play out exactly as we want or hope or need it to." That does not seem to be the case. In fact, my favorite example of how we are not actually in control, even across the spectrum of things, right? Right now, again, the pandemic being this ultimate example. But in our own lives, if I asked you, what's the best thing in your life? The best thing. You got it? If it's your hair, I salute you. Your butt, congratulations. Your house, your spouse, your dog, your kids, whatever it is, then ask yourself, how did it get there? Some people, very few, when I ask this question, very few people, but a few, take credit. I'm always dubious of the taking credit. Even if you say, well, I went to school and I toughed it out to get this career that I love, it's my favorite thing in the world. Okay, how'd you get the talent to do that thing? Oh, I inherited from, yeah, okay. You inherited it or you don't know. How'd you meet your spouse? Well, I imagined the perfect, okay, but you met your wife because you missed that red light, right? Or took a right turn instead of a left, got lost, went to a coffee shop you'd never been. It always, if you peel back one or two layers, generally at the most, you find that we are in fact like water, whether we admit it or allow ourselves to be or not. I remember when unemployment started, um, in whenever it started, March, April, May. I remember hearing stories of people who were spending their entire day on the phone on hold with the unemployment office in California, probably all over the country, but freaking out because they couldn't get to talk to a person. Meanwhile, that system was churning. We know it was churning. They had unprecedented. Everything's unprecedented. If you've ordered anything online, you know they say it'll come in 3 days or not. That's always or not. Everything is on hold longer. Everybody's off kilter, right? Everybody's off kilter. So so the child of lawyers in me, the economics major in me, wants to keep my hands on the steering wheel and decide where I'm going and when I get there, right? But the guy who writes Last Song and Empty Hands and Water, that guy knows better. That if I get put on hold for a certain amount of time, this wasn't the moment to call. That system is churning. That process is happening. An economy recovers. A vaccine arrives. And I just breathe a little bit deeper, trust a little bit more. And the result of that extra 10%, I'm not talking about mastering any of this, just dabbling in it makes a difference. The result of dabbling in that kind of surrender is a clearer head, a more restful day, deeper sleep, louder laughter, longer lasting hugs if you are lucky enough to get them right now. Everybody is so isolated. Things unfold in their own time, whether we allow them. They don't wait for our allowance. They just do. And there's never been a more dramatic or more universal demonstration of that than now, when we might as well as a species be wearing blindfolds. The medical experts don't know, the doctors don't know, the pharmacists don't know, does anybody have any idea? Nobody knows. The employers don't know, the employees don't know. You name it. Everybody is, it's not that we're newly blind to where we're headed, it's that it's suddenly become so obvious that today is all we have. That the person we're completely sick of because we can't get away from them in our house for 11 months, that's it. That's life today. Life tomorrow more or less takes care of itself. Today is a day to make a good choice, to be kind, have a brownie, make $1 if you can manage it, watch a silly movie, take a shower if you haven't in a week, put on pants wherever you are. Ray, I think it was you not wearing pants. Oh wait, that was me saying that you weren't wearing pants. Today is the only day. And I don't mean that to sound so trite. I mean really, right? Really. And if you are scared, yeah, everybody is. Almost everybody is. Those who don't, you ever hear that joke? I asked 100 people, 99, 63 of them said they were scared, 37 of them lied. That would be the joke right now. Really, scared, yes. Lonely, yes. Unnerved by the news, by the political winds, yes. You're not alone in any of the feelings you've been having. I've been doing a lot of those Facebook shows Judi mentioned, a lot of them. It's over 80 now. We're 100. It's just been madness. I don't know what the hell I'm thinking, except I just want to do this thing that I do. And Facebook, I never thought I'd say Facebook parentheses, God bless it, but there it was. I never paid any attention to Facebook before. I made fun of people who used it, but Not anymore. Now it has become the only real opportunity besides services like this, the only opportunity for me to say something and sing something at a moment when I feel like this is a moment to sing to people and to say something. And what I have found in those audiences and the people who have logged into the concerts, and by the way, every Monday night at 7 o'clock, Daniel Nahmod USA, you're invited. It's not a big group, friendly, communal. It just sings some songs every Monday night at 7 o'clock. What I have found is scratch the surface of almost anybody's life right now, and you find not knowing, and you find isolation, and you find fear. It is universal. It is not to be suppressed, and it is not to be ashamed of. It's not a failure. It's just life right now. And the last thing I'll share with you is something my doctor once said to me. Um, I broke my ankle a long time ago. I broke a little bone in my ankle, and I asked him uh, if it would heal completely or if I would have a limp or something afterwards. And he said, Daniel, your ankle will heal so completely that you'll forget which ankle broke. And sure enough, it didn't take more than a couple years before I couldn't remember which ankle broke or had broken. And I do think that this time, like all other times, I heard a folk musician say once, "This too shall pass. I've had kidney stones and I know." You know. So I don't know if any of that is interesting or thought-provoking for you, but I do mean it to be, if nothing else, just a little reminder of something you already know, which is that today we're okay. Tomorrow we'll do our best again.